There are movies that entertain you. There are movies that scare you. There are movies that haunt you for days, that crawl under your skin and refuse to leave. And then, there is A Serbian Film. Released in the year 2010, this is not simply a horror movie. It is not a thriller. It is not even what most people would call cinema in the traditional sense. It is widely considered, by critics, by censorship boards, by audiences across the globe, to be the single most disturbing, most controversial, and most aggressively banned piece of filmmaking in the entire history of motion pictures. This film was legally prohibited in over 46 countries. Spain banned it, Australia banned it, New Zealand banned it, Malaysia, Norway, Brazil, the Philippines. The list goes on and on. In the United Kingdom, the British Board of Film Classification, one of the most experienced censorship bodies in the world, demanded that over 4 minutes and 11 seconds of footage be physically cut from the film before they would even consider giving it a rating. 4 minutes, surgically removed, and what remained was still classified under the most extreme adult rating available. But why? What is so uniquely, so fundamentally twisted about this single film that entire governments, with all their bureaucracies, all their legal frameworks, looked at it and said, "No, our citizens cannot see this. This must be made illegal." Today, we are going to go deep. We are going to break down the full story of A Serbian Film, scene by scene, layer by layer. We are going to examine what happens in it, why it was made, and what it supposedly means beneath all the horror. But I need to give you a sincere warning before we begin. This is not a casual video. This story descends into the absolute darkest corners of human depravity. The content we are about to discuss is extreme, even in summary form. There are no graphic visuals in this video, but the story itself is enough. If you think you can handle it, let's find out. To understand the horror of this film, you first need to understand the man at the center of it. Because the tragedy of A Serbian Film is not that it begins in darkness. The tragedy is that it begins in light. Meet Milos. Milos is a man in his late 30s. He lives in Belgrade, Serbia, in a small but comfortable apartment. He has a wife named Maria, a woman he loves with everything he has. He has a young son named Petar, a bright, innocent child who looks up to his father with absolute adoration. On the surface, they are a normal family, a loving family, a family that, in any other story, would be the ones you root for. But Milos has a past. Before he became a family man, Milos was one of the most famous adult film stars in Serbia. He was legendary in the industry, known for his physical ability, his stamina, his professionalism. He made a name for himself in a world that most people pretend doesn't exist, and for a while, it paid the bills. But Milos retired. He walked away from that life because he wanted something better. He wanted to be a good father. He wanted to be a good husband. He wanted to leave that world behind and never look back. The problem is, he has no other skills, no education, no connections outside the industry. And the Serbia he lives in is not a land of opportunity. This is post-war Serbia. The economy is shattered. Unemployment is rampant. Corruption is everywhere. For a man like Milos, a man whose only professional experience is in an industry that polite society refuses to acknowledge, there is simply no path forward. The money is running out. The bills are piling up. Maria never complains, but Milos can see the worry in her eyes. He can feel the walls closing in. And then, one day, Milos gets a phone call. It comes from Leila, a former colleague from his days in the industry. She tells him that there is a man, a very wealthy, very powerful, very connected man, who wants to work with Milos specifically. This man has seen Milos's old work and considers him a genius. He wants Milos for one final film. And the payment? It is astronomical. A sum of money so large that Milos, Maria, and Petar would never have to worry about anything again. They could leave Serbia. They could start a new life. They could be free. The man's name is Vukmir. Vukmir is not what you expect. He is not a sleazy producer. He is not a back alley operator. Vukmir is educated, polished. He speaks about cinema the way a professor speaks about philosophy. He talks about art and truth and the power of the image. He is charming, he is articulate, and that is exactly what makes him terrifying. Vukmir invites Milos to a meeting. Over expensive drinks, in an immaculately designed office, he lays out his vision. He wants to create something new, something the world has never seen. A film that captures life itself, every emotion, every sensation, every extreme of the human experience, on camera. But there is one condition, one non-negotiable rule. Milos is not allowed to read the script. He's not allowed to know what scenes are coming. He must show up on set each day and simply follow Vukmir's instructions. No questions, no preparation, no refusal, total submission. Milos hesitates. Every instinct in his body tells him something is wrong. But then he thinks about Maria. He thinks about Petar. He thinks about the empty refrigerator and the overdue rent. He signs the contract. And in that moment, though he doesn't know it yet, Milos has signed away everything: his body, his mind, his family, his soul. He has made a deal with the devil, and the devil always collects. The first day of filming seems strange, but not alarming. Vukmir's set is unlike anything Milos has seen before. It is not a studio. It is a series of abandoned buildings, warehouses, and institutional spaces that have been converted into elaborate, almost theatrical stages. Cameras are hidden everywhere, in walls, in ceilings, behind mirrors. Milos realizes he is being filmed at all times, from every angle, whether he knows a scene is happening or not. The first scene Vukmir directs is unusual. Milos is placed in a room with a young woman. But instead of what Milos expects, Vukmir instructs him through a wireless earpiece. The instructions are strange, aggressive, degrading. Not toward Milos, toward the woman. Vukmir wants Milos to dominate her, not just physically, but psychologically. He wants fear. He wants tears. He wants the camera to capture something real. Milos is uncomfortable, but he complies. He tells himself it's acting. He tells himself the money is worth it. But after the scene, Milos notices something. The woman didn't seem to be acting. Her fear seemed genuine. Her tears were real. And when Milos asks Vukmir about it, Vukmir simply smiles and says, "That's the point. We are not making a movie, Milos. We are capturing life." Over the next few days, the scenes escalate. Each one is more violent, more disturbing, more extreme than the last. Milos is asked to perform acts of increasing brutality. The people on set, the actors, seem less like performers and more like victims. Some of them are visibly terrified. Some of them are restrained. Milos begins to push back. He confronts Vukmir. He demands to know what kind of film this is. He threatens to walk away. And this is where Vukmir reveals his philosophy. Vukmir doesn't get angry. He doesn't threaten Milos. Instead, he delivers a monologue that is, in many ways, the philosophical core of the entire film. He tells Milos that the world is numb, that modern society has consumed so much media, so much violence, so much manufactured emotion, that human beings have lost the ability to feel anything real. He says that conventional cinema is a lie. Actors pretending to feel things they don't feel. Audiences pretending to be moved by things that are fake. Vukmir claims he is creating something different, something pure. He says he is capturing genuine human emotion, real pain, real fear, real ecstasy, real despair, on film, without filters, without acting, without pretense. He calls it the birth of a new art form. And then he shows Milos a piece of footage that crosses every conceivable line. I will not describe this footage in detail, because what Vukmir shows Milos in this scene is the single most controversial moment in the film's first half. It involves the most vulnerable category of human beings imaginable, and the act depicted is so extreme, so fundamentally transgressive, that this single scene is the primary reason the film was banned in dozens of countries. Milos is horrified. He vomits. He screams. He tries to leave. But Vukmir's people are everywhere. And Milos is about to discover that leaving was never an option. This is where the film enters its most nightmarish phase. After confronting Vukmir, Milos tries to quit. He goes home. He tries to put the experience behind him. But he doesn't realize that Vukmir has already anticipated this. Vukmir's people follow Milos. They drug him, injecting him with a powerful cocktail of synthetic aphrodisiacs and psychotropic chemicals that strip away his inhibitions, his self-control, his very identity. Under the influence of these drugs, Milos becomes something else. He is no longer a man. He is an instrument, a weapon, a puppet on Vukmir's strings. And for 3 days, Milos exists in this state. 3 days of total blackout. 3 days during which cameras are rolling at all times. 3 days during which Vukmir directs Milos like a rabid animal through a series of scenarios so extreme that the film barely shows them. And what it does show caused walkouts, vomiting, and at least one reported case of audience members requiring medical attention at film festivals. Milos remembers none of it. He wakes up in a destroyed room. The walls are smeared with blood. His clothes are torn. His body is covered in wounds he doesn't remember receiving. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know what he's done. He stumbles home. His wife is not there. His son is not there. The apartment is empty. Panic sets in. Where is Maria? Where is Petar? Milos tries calling them. No answer. He tries calling friends, family, anyone. Nobody knows where they are. And then Milos finds something in his coat pocket. A collection of videotapes. Unmarked. Numbered. These are the recordings from the 3-day blackout. These are the tapes that show everything he did while he was under Vukmir's control. And Milos makes the decision that destroys him. He watches them. One by one. Tape after tape. Each recording reveals another atrocity he committed while drugged and directed by Vukmir. He sees himself doing things that no human being should be capable of. He sees victims he doesn't recognize. He sees blood and suffering and degradation that goes beyond anything he could have imagined. But the worst tape, the final tape, is the one Vukmir saved for last, because the final tape reveals the ultimate betrayal, the final, sick, meticulously orchestrated climax of Vukmir's masterpiece. During the blackout, while Milos was completely out of his mind, Vukmir led him into a room. In that room were 2 figures, their heads covered with cloth bags. Milos, drugged beyond recognition, was directed to assault them, brutally, violently, without restraint. And when the bags were removed, they were his wife and his son. Vukmir had kidnapped Maria and Petar. He had brought them to the set, and he had used Milos, the man who loved them more than anything in the world, as the instrument of their destruction. While cameras rolled, while Vukmir watched, while the art was being created, Milos wasn't just a victim. He was made into the perpetrator, against his own family, without his knowledge, without his consent. And it was all captured on film, Vukmir's ultimate masterpiece. This is the revelation that broke audiences. This is the moment that made censors reach for the scissors. This is the reason the film was banned. Not because of what it showed, though what it showed was extreme beyond measure, but because of what it meant. The total annihilation of everything a man holds sacred, his love, his family, his identity, his humanity, orchestrated by someone who considers it art. After the revelation, Milos loses what remains of his sanity. But he doesn't collapse into helplessness. Something else takes over, something primal. Rage. Milos tracks down Vukmir and his crew. And in the film's climactic sequence, Milos unleashes a level of violence that mirrors, and in some ways exceeds, what was done to him. He kills Vukmir's guards, he kills Vukmir's associates, and he kills Vukmir himself in a scene of brutal, visceral revenge that gives the audience the catharsis they desperately need, but poisons it with the knowledge that catharsis, in this world, means nothing, because the damage is already done. Milos finds Maria and Petar. They are alive, physically, at least, but the trauma is irreversible. The family that existed before Vukmir is gone forever. The father Milos was, the wife Maria was, the childhood Petar was supposed to have, all of it destroyed. And then comes the final scene. Milos, Maria, and Petar lie together on a bed. They are holding each other. They are still. And then Milos reaches under the pillow and retrieves a gun. The camera pulls back slowly, and a single gunshot is heard. Then a second, then a third. Milos has killed his wife, his son, and then himself. Because in his mind, death is the only freedom left. The only way to ensure that Vukmir's footage, that the filmed record of their destruction, will never be used again. The only way to take back control, but the film doesn't end there. In the final shot, a new man enters the room. He is accompanied by a film crew. He looks at the three bodies. He looks at his crew, and he gives a single instruction. Start with the little one. The screen cuts to black. The credits roll. The implication is clear. Even in death, even after the ultimate sacrifice, Milos and his family are not free. Vukmir's machine, the system, the industry, the corrupt power structure, simply moves on to the next act. The exploitation never ends. The cameras never stop rolling. Death itself is not an escape. This is the final, devastating gut punch that A Serbian Film delivers. And it is the reason the film lingers in the minds of those who have seen it long, long after the screen goes dark. When the credits roll on A Serbian Film, the immediate reaction for most viewers is visceral. Disgust, anger, nausea. Many people who have watched it describe feeling physically ill, not just during the film, but for hours, sometimes days, afterward. It is the kind of movie that doesn't just cross lines, it erases them. And the natural question, the question that every audience member asks, that every critic has asked, that every censorship board has grappled with, is simply, why? Why would anyone make this? Why would anyone write this script, direct these scenes, ask actors to perform them? Is this just provocation for the sake of provocation? Is it exploitation dressed up as cinema? Is it, as many have argued, nothing more than elaborately produced and deeply irresponsible trash? Or is there something else? To answer that question, we need to listen to the man who made it. Director Srđan Spasojević has been remarkably consistent and articulate in his defense of the film, and his explanation, whether you accept it or not, is worth understanding. According to Spasojević, A Serbian Film is not a horror movie. It is a political allegory, a metaphor taken to its most extreme, most unwatchable, most unbearable conclusion. He says the film is about Serbia. Specifically, it is about the experience of ordinary Serbian citizens during and after the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s, one of the most brutal, most traumatic chapters in modern European history. During those wars, Serbia experienced bombing campaigns, ethnic cleansing, mass displacement, economic collapse, international sanctions, and a level of political corruption so deep that it penetrated every level of society. The government, led by figures like Slobodan Milosevic, was accused of manipulating, exploiting, and sacrificing its own citizens for political gain. Ordinary people were ground up by a machine they couldn't see, couldn't understand, and couldn't escape. Spasojević says that every element of the film is a deliberate metaphor for this experience. Vukmir, the director within the film, represents the Serbian government, the corrupt authorities, the powerful elite who treat their citizens as raw material to be used, consumed, and discarded. He is educated, sophisticated, and utterly without conscience. He doesn't see people, he sees resources. Milos represents the ordinary Serbian citizen, a man who once had agency, who once had dignity, but who has been reduced by economic desperation to selling himself, literally, to a system that will destroy him and everyone he loves. The contract Milos signs, the one that forbids him from knowing what will happen, is a metaphor for the social contract between citizens and their government. You participate, you comply, you don't ask questions, and in return, you receive just enough to survive. The drugs that erase Milos's memory represent the propaganda, the media manipulation, and the deliberate information control that authoritarian regimes use to keep their populations docile and compliant. You don't know what's being done in your name. You don't remember what you participated in. And by the time you wake up, it's too late. And the most horrifying element, Milos being forced to destroy his own family without knowing it, is, according to Spasojević, a metaphor for what war does to a nation. It turns citizens against each other. It makes fathers destroy their sons. It makes communities consume themselves. And the architects of the destruction sit behind cameras, watching, profiting, calling it art or patriotism or national interest. And the final scene, where Milos kills his family and himself, only for a new crew to arrive and continue filming, is perhaps the most devastating metaphor of all. It says, even death is not escape. Even when you sacrifice everything, the system doesn't stop. It simply finds new victims, new Miloses, new families. The machine is bigger than any one person. It was here before you, and it will be here after you. Spasojević has said in interviews, "This is a diary of our own molestation by the Serbian government. It is a portrait of the Serbian family, violated by the authorities." Whether you agree with his approach, whether you believe that these ideas justify the extremity of what is depicted on screen, is, of course, entirely up to you. But it is worth noting that the film exists in a tradition of extreme cinema that uses shock and transgression as political tools. Films like Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, which depicted fascism through extreme depravity, or Michael Haneke's Funny Games, which used violence to critique audience complicity, have been recognized as legitimate, if deeply uncomfortable, works of political art. A Serbian Film takes this tradition to its absolute furthest point. It goes further than any film before it. And the debate over whether it went too far, whether the message justifies the medium, is a debate that will likely never be resolved. The reaction to A Serbian Film was immediate, global, and extreme. When it premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin, Texas, in March 2010, audience members reportedly walked out in waves. Some theaters that screened it received bomb threats. Critics were split violently. Some called it a masterpiece of transgressive cinema. Others called it an irredeemable exercise in sadism. But it was the censorship response that truly set the film apart. In Spain, the film was banned outright. Possession of the uncut version was classified as a criminal offense in some jurisdictions. In Australia, the Classification Board refused to classify it, effectively making it illegal to sell, screen, or import. In New Zealand, the Office of Film and Literature Classification went further, banning the film and classifying it as objectionable, a category reserved for material deemed to be injurious to the public good. In Germany, it was placed on the index of banned media. In Norway, it was seized by customs officials. In Brazil, it was banned by judicial order. In the Philippines and Malaysia, it was never even submitted for classification. Distributors knew it would be rejected. In the United Kingdom, the BBFC demanded 4 minutes and 12 seconds of cuts before it would grant the film an 18 certificate. The cuts removed the most extreme scenes entirely. And even after those cuts, the film remained one of the most complained about releases in British censorship history. In Serbia itself, the country the film was supposedly about, the reaction was complex. Some Serbian intellectuals and filmmakers defended it as a legitimate, if extreme, piece of political commentary. Others were furious, arguing that the film exploited Serbia's real suffering for international shock value and gave the world yet another reason to associate Serbia with violence and depravity. The Serbian government investigated the filmmakers. Criminal charges were considered, though ultimately not filed. In the years since its release, A Serbian Film has become something of a cultural landmark, not because people enjoy it, but because it represents a line in the sand. It is the film that people reference when they talk about the limits of art, the boundaries of free expression, and the responsibilities of filmmakers to their audiences. It has a rating of 5.0 out of 10 on IMDb, a number that disguises one of the most polarized rating distributions on the platform. People either rate it a 1 or a 10. There is almost no middle ground. It has been called the most disturbing film ever made, so many times that the phrase has become almost synonymous with its title. And yet, despite all the bans, all the controversy, all the disgust, the film refuses to disappear. It endures, it is discussed, it is analyzed, it is studied in film courses, carefully with extensive content warnings, but studied nonetheless. Because regardless of how you feel about the film, it raises questions that matter. Questions about censorship. Who decides what is too extreme? Who has the right to tell an artist what they can and cannot create? Questions about art. Can something be simultaneously repulsive and meaningful? Can a film that makes you physically ill still be good? Questions about power. How do governments exploit their citizens? How do systems of control operate? And is extreme art a valid way to expose those systems? These are questions that A Serbian Film forces you to confront, whether you wanted to confront them or not. So here we are, at the end of the story. Whether you see A Serbian Film as a dark masterpiece, a brutal, unflinching metaphor for political victimization taken to its most extreme visual conclusion, or whether you see it as nothing more than elaborately produced garbage, designed to shock and disturb for its own sake. One thing is undeniable. This film pushed boundaries that cinema had never touched before. It went to places that no filmmaker had dared to go, or perhaps had the decency not to go. It forced audiences, critics, and governments to confront the question of where the line is between art and atrocity. And it proved beyond any doubt that a single film, 104 minutes of images and sound, can provoke a global reaction of fear, outrage, censorship, and debate that lasts for over a decade. Whether that makes it important or just irresponsible, that is for you to decide. Have you ever watched a Serbian film? Or is this a piece of cinema that you believe should remain banned, locked away, unseen, and forgotten? Tell me in the comments below. I want to hear your honest thoughts. And if this video made you think, even if it made you uncomfortable, consider subscribing. Because this channel goes deep. We explore the stories that mainstream media won't touch, the films, the events, the mysteries that exist in the shadows. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next breakdown.